Welcome to the Reinvented Life with Pamela Chanel David. Do you want to step up your game? Pursue your dreams. Be the best version of yourself. The Reinvented Life is here to help. The Reinvented Life is about courage. It's about staying relevant. It takes grit. It defies gravity. It's about taking inventory of where you are today and where you want to go. Embrace change. Make things possible and reinvent your life. Call in with questions at 888-994-4995. Now, it's time to reinvent your life with Pamela Chanel.
Be recorded. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Reinvented Life. It is early in the morning on the West Coast, and we are going to be joined today by the founders, the brains, the brilliance behind the Brooklyn Cafe, Dawn and Freddie, who are coming to us from Florida on the East Coast. So I want to welcome them to the Reinvented Life show. And I'm excited about what we're talking about today because we're always wanting to bring compelling information to the listeners, to the viewers. And today we're going to be talking about the simplest notion, which is not forgetting that we have choices that we can make in life. The choices we make, not just long-term choices, but daily choices every day, become significant as to how we're feeling about life, how we're feeling energetically, how we're feeling about the world around us. And this conversation today is all about that, is remembering and not forgetting that we have a choice that we can make every single day to live that best life. So with that, I'd love to welcome Dawn and Freddie to the Reinvented Life and engage in this conversation that I think is so important to so many. Good morning, East Coast.
Good morning, West Coast. I
Yes.
gotta tell you, you're gonna have to contain me because you are so right about reinventing and going forward. Something is happening right now that involves you and you don't even know it yet.
I'm excited.
The notion, we have gotten involved with a gentleman that I call Mr. Baseball, Phil, and he's an agent for Major League Baseball. And he has decided for his children's sake and for his brain's sake to treat travel team players, 8-year-olds to 13-year-olds and up to 17-year-olds, like major league players. And it's this wave that has taken over. And I just discovered it's not only South Florida now, it's going to be all of Florida. They just added another 300, one of the largest organizations. And we're going to be reaching out to San Francisco because they want players from all over the country to join these tournaments that are coming forward. And the reason that I'm so well versed on it is because when I was a coach for 20 years on the Condos travel team in New York City, I had my teams involved in these tournaments, and they have grown even bigger. So I am so happy to be involved with a dream that I had when I was 26 years old. Back in the day, I always dreamed of something of this nature. I just didn't have the juice to be able to do it. I didn't know the players. I didn't have the Major League Baseball behind me. And it's here now, and it's in front of me. He was in here the other day, and I got to tell you, I've been doing this a long time. He had me dancing, and she was laughing.
No, Chanel, we had him pacing because he made us an offer, and I think it totally took Freddie by surprise.
I was shocked.
And next thing I know, Freddie's pacing up and down the studio floors, and he's speechless, and I'm laughing because I'm watching him pace because none of us has ever seen Freddie off his game with the blink, just like that.
He threw me off. He threw me off because it was something that I've always wanted to try to do. Not only for me, but for everybody around me. I used to have 12 coaches on my travel team. I had a big team, big. And we used to win. We were real good all over the country We used to come. We didn't come down to Florida. We went to Virginia Beach. We went all over the country with these kids, and they were 8 to 13 years of age, and I loved it. I loved to let them be treated like superstars, to give them, not only in baseball terminology, a chance, but to give them a chance in school and for the rest of their lives. I got to sign 3 ball players to the Atlanta Braves organization. Okay, and that nobody can ever take that away from me, and I am very proud of that. But giving people a chance to choose, and if you choose to be right, my goodness gracious, that is the best feeling in the world.
Yeah, it is, and it gives us the freedom. You know, living one's best life, living whatever it is we're up to, is remembering that we have these freedoms. You know, sometimes with all this chaos around us, we just forget to be grateful for the freedoms we do have. And what you're talking about, Freddie, is really getting thrown off your game. That's the best thing that can happen. You know, reinventing and shifting and transforming, it's all about disrupting patterns. People get so comfortable in their day in and day out. But true reinvention is about disruption. It's about saying, I'm appreciative for what's been, but disrupting that pattern for something new to enter. And that's what you're saying when you're off your game. Like, I can only imagine you almost dancing and jumping up in those studios, because it's a disrupt. It's taking one out of the norm, and it keeps life exciting that way. It keeps you feeling young. You know, before we started the show, Dawn and I had a chance just to chat about the fact that where is our place in life now? Where is it that we belong? And this disrupt helps you to land. So it's kind of a funny notion when you think about, by disrupting, you're actually helping yourself land, often in a new and exciting and a place of growth. That's really what it's all about, is how do we keep growing? How do we keep moving ahead and bringing more joy and more excitement to your life? That's really what it's all about.
Well, speaking of more joy and excitement, what's happening with the new studio space in San Francisco?
So this is very exciting. So we will have opened by late summer, early fall, within the next few months, a Reinvented Life Center. Some people have heard it talked about in this show. It's incredible what's coming forward. Finding the right space been a little bit more challenging than I anticipated. However, when we find it, there is no lack of support and excitement behind it. You know, the San Francisco Bay Area is so cutting edge in terms of its willingness to, again, embrace change, do things a little bit different, add a little bit of vibrancy. Not only has it historically been sort of a thought leader area, and the emergence, of course, you know, decades ago now, of the Silicon Valley, but it also is a melting pot. It also is a melting pot of cultures, and bringing together multiple diverse cultures is, again, what keeps things exciting. It keeps it disrupted. It takes away from just the day in and day out. So the studio is going to be the epicenter of the center, of course, but there's also going to be at least 3 to 4 meeting rooms there where people can actually meet, they can brainstorm, they can create, services can be provided, and at the center of it will be emulating what you've all created there, a very exciting, vibrant, artistic, creative space.
I got a question for you. Sometimes when you do something in media, in this kind of media production business, it's a one and out, and it either hit it or it didn't hit. It either made it or it didn't make. When we used to be at an iHeart radio station, I used to tell Dawn, you have to be able to hit that high note. And then consistency is how you keep hitting that note. How you have to play that note for years. That was the mark for me to be successful. How do you handle when you're on your way to hitting that note and people don't understand what it is you see? How do you convince people to come along and trust you enough that at the end of the day, you're going to hit that high note? How do you keep the vision above the rim consistently to do that? Even though people are saying, I don't understand, I can't see what you're seeing, or I don't agree with what you're saying. How do you keep that consistency going?
Well, first of all, it starts with being authentic. It starts with actually representing the vision that's authentic to who you are, so that it's comes from a natural place of being and not being thrown off. Keeping that vision so clear in your mind that people don't actually have an ability to not see that vision. They may agree with it or they may not, but it doesn't matter because the right people get attracted to it. And I think the key to it is the attraction and the collaboration with the right people. Don't let, in anything in life, let you get thrown off because of a naysayer. I always share with people when they're reinventing things, some of the closest people in their life will suddenly start to question, will suddenly start to wonder, what is it that you're actually doing? But if you stay clear in your own mind and you have such clarity about it and you can describe it with such vision and optical terms, and by optical I mean letting people actually see it, describing it so vividly that there's no chance that they can't at least understand what you're doing.
But then you have to look inside of you and believe what you believe. You can't let the winds knock you off your goal, because if you do that, then it doesn't work. You have to be able to hold on to what you believe in, to what you see, to the philosophy of what gets you there. You know, a lot of people have asked me, why do I want to go into San Francisco? Why? Because that's the way to do this thing. That's, well, that not only that, but when I met Chanel, I said, she's the one. So I got to get to wherever I got to get to make sure this thing happens, because you are the one that understands how to take a situation, make it better, and then strive to make it even better after that.
What type of space are you looking for? What are you running into that's a little bit more of a challenge?
I think there's a couple of different things. You either have extremely professional space. So if you're in the financial area, it's extremely professional, and anything that's outside of that window isn't welcomed as kindly. And then you've got the opposite. You've got such artistic spaces, but you have people that actually want to come in and have services and have coaching sessions and have all sorts of mindful work done, a little hesitancy. So the beauty of it is I've kind of narrowed down now that you need a space that's open to both. And once you get a space that's open to people, then they feel comfortable coming into that area of the city, or they coming into that part of where it is, then it's game over.
So do you find that the space is going to be reflective of their personalities, of a mixture of personalities, of a networking personalities? Because you can't find the place, you got to make the place become the place.
Yes, exactly. I think the key is, and when you're in the middle of San Francisco, there's so many things, in the beginning, I didn't really even think about. You have to factor in parking. You have to factor in accessibility. You want to be able to have a place that attracts people, then it's easy access for them to get to. But to your point, it's about creating the space. You're not going to walk in and find a place like this. It's almost like creating a theater or creating a visual arts center, because it's not there now. You come in and you create it. But collaboration with a lot of people that have and share that same vision, that want to use the space to do their live stream shows, want to use the place to broadcast their podcasts from. That's exciting. That's what's going to bring it life. That is what is going to bring that creative force forward, and that people feel comfortable in being there.
It's really exciting. I'm so looking forward to heading out to California. And what's so great about the Bay Area is you've got such great artsy spaces and people that are doing things in these houses that have been converted into these art spaces and galleries, which so lend itself to everything that you do on reinvention, on self-fulfillment, or on living your best life, on coaching. But then you've got the business side of it. So it's this intricate little meld of what it is. Like, you're not going to be next to Ghirardelli chocolate, right? Because you
Right.
want a whole nother feel, not just tourism. You want the permanent people that are there.
And it's a place you want to have people feel comfortable. You want to have them walk in and feel that spirit and feel that energy and feel comfortable in. I don't want a place that feels very standoffish. That goes against the grain of what reinventing is. Reinventing is leaning into a more authentic way of being, a more comfortable way of being, and that's why ultimately the goal is more joy, because there is an accessibility to not just the physical space, but to, as Freddie said, within. We want to help people access what has been locked up. So much about the reinvented life is not just new, but it's actually finding what is more authentic to people. Who are they really? What's taken place in their life? And you often hear me say it, a life, and creating a life by design, not by default. And so often people's life has just become a series of steps, and one has led to the other, and the other, and the other, without the actual design created orientation that is really what the reinvented life is. So the space is actually reflective of being able to be expressive and do so without judgment.
And right now, we were talking before the show, before you joined us, about this space. At least I am in my age demographic. For women, I can't speak about men. I think are pulled because I sit and I tell you I'm in my head all the time because I know I'm not my kid's age. I'm not in my 20s, in my 30s, and getting married and having children. Did that, so I know I'm not going back to that. I'm not at my parents' stage, and I'm not really ready to be there, where they're at doctors all the times and they're not living their best life. So I'm in this space in between. If I can't go back, I don't want to go that far forward. And this is my time to live my best life. And what does that look like? So a lot of times you don't get in your head like I do. So I think it through. And sometimes I think it through too much of what do I want to do? Where should I be? What am I going to do next? When I should really just be enjoying the moment that I am in this amazing space that we're in and our incredible crew and these great opportunities to now spotlight kids in baseball and all the things and work with you in California and not worry about being my parents' age, but actually enjoy where I am. And when that happens, that'll happen. Are you working with people? You have to be this demographic that
And,
I
and
sit in.
I think it's adopting the notion of doing the best you can right now, so that things you see with your parents, that you can get ahead of. I know that my emphasis right now on physical fitness and taking the best care of myself and paying attention to my nutrition and all of that, it's like any kind of investment in my future. I will be healthier than I would have been 15 years from now and 20 years from now had I not done that. So, again, the term living your best life is, what are you doing for yourself right now that excites you, that energizes you, and that you're investing in yourself so that you can maximize health and all the other aspects to your life going forward. And knowing that paying attention to yourself, and I've said it on this show many times and I will say it many times more, it's all about personal justice. That notion of personal justice, meaning, are you being most just to yourself? And how can you treat yourself in the kindest and most mindful way possible so that you can ensure the strongest you showing up? Showing up is such a big part of living one's best life.
Well, your personal justice makes me think of a conversation you and I had the other day where you said, do you love yourself as much as you love your significant other? Because if you can love your significant other that much, you should love yourself that much. You should be willing to do as much as you're going to do for that person for yourself, if not more, which was a fresh perspective that I never really thought about.
Listen, I look at it totally different.
Because you're a guy.
I'm making a healthy sandwich. That's what this place reminds me of. And every ingredient that I put in here, it's another personality, another show, another ideology, another philosophy. Because there's no such thing as a bad idea. There are only no ideas. So my sandwich right now is about 20 stories high. And then the challenge of delivery, which is how do I eat this sandwich? Do I eat it one bite at a time? How do I cut into it? So I'm formulating the biggest sandwich you've ever seen, the healthy sandwich. Now, there's sometimes people put an olive. I can't stand olives. Don't like them. They'll put an olive in my sandwich. I got to take it out. They may want to put some mustard, some mayo. In other words, there are so many different ingredients that lead to a venue to be successful that you can't put your finger on yes or no. This works, this does. You don't know. You don't know. We went to the movies in Del Rey. We started an idea. The last idea that we went to was over 200 people, which started with nothing. There was 0 people there when we started. There's over 200 people going to these events now. The networking gigs that we go to, people are showing up at the door and actually inviting us. Everything changes. So my belief is, if you want to make a sandwich, believe you're going to make the best sandwich possible. And don't get in your head. Don't trip over the mayonnaise. Don't trip over whether I'm going to put a piece of ham in that sandwich, piece of cheese. You're going to toast the bread. Forget about all that. Just make the best sandwich you can make. How's that for philosophy?
Well, I love it. And what you're describing is not staying complacent. I think that is the biggest piece for people, is that they just stay complacent, stay with what is, rather than keep inventing and keep reinventing and adding on and expanding. And the reason it all ties into growth is people forget that change is about growing. It's not anything to be afraid of. So many people, right on the front of the Reinvented Life book, I put, we embrace change. And that is such a scary thought to so many people. But if they see the energy in that, if they see the growth that can come from that, it's like what Donna and I were saying before the show. It's just a pivot. And what you're describing, Freddie, is so perfect, because it's about growing. It's about not staying complacent. It's about willing to reevaluate. It's not getting caught up on any little detail, but rather keeping that biggest vision in mind, is how can you create the most dynamic space that's growing, that has 200 people, show up at an event that had none before. It's because of the attraction. And we forget, and it's good to remind ourselves, how we are the center point of the attraction into our own lives. We spend years and decades not paying attention to ourselves, paying attention to everything else around us, until which time we realize, oh boy, if we're going to have the most authentic and successful life, we have to go back to what is it we're expressing, and how can we pay attention to what's going on with us and for us, and combining those efforts together.
True that.
And
True
this,
that.
Chanel, is what I love so much about working with you. Is you
Thank
had an
you.
idea and you said, where are all the platforms I can be seen and heard? And your podcast is actually up. All of your shows have been put on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio app. And this was like late at night, I think on a weekend, Friday night, and you said, can I use this and this and this and this? And this way, everyone sees where your message is now seen and heard. And you keep going and you keep pushing.
Well, it's because I feel like people need the inspiration. People need to know what can be done. And that's my mission in life, is to help people reinvent all or part of their lives so that they can see what's possible and, going back to what we were talking about, really live their best.
And the interesting thing is, I always say, no matter what it is that you want people, message you want to deliver, if you can sell a smile, you got it made. Because you can't hide a smile. If you feel good about what you're doing and you can show that, that says it all. Also, you're going to be also on YouTube podcast. We were asked to do that as well. So you're going to get that platform. Your Roku and Amazon Fire platforms are being done, waiting for approval to put your shows on Roku and on Amazon Fire Stick as well. So we're going to put the whole gamut out so that people can learn that the Reinvented Life is not about fear. It's about striving ahead and smiling. And if you can sell a smile, man, you can do anything in life. Anything.
Absolutely. I'm so appreciative of you coming on the show, of these conversations. I feel they're compelling, and I feel more than anything that they serve, as I was saying, an inspiration to people to know that all is possible when you embrace this growth, when you embrace this change, and when you embrace, I love how you described that, Freddie, the sandwich ingredient. I want to remind everyone that you can contact the Reinvented Life at info@thereinventedlife.com. Please send an email to info@thereinventedlife.com. Let's keep this conversation going. These new platforms are all about reaching more people. Have a wonderful week. Look forward to coming back next week, as always, with ideas that help people to really expand their life and empower themselves. Have a great week, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to The Reinvented Life with Pamela Chanel David. Tune in each week so we can work and grow together to become the best version of ourselves. Keep striving, keep dreaming, keep working, and embrace change. You may contact Pamela Chanel at info@thereinventedlife.com.